Всем привет, дамы и господа, с вами Алекс Назаренко. Топ-10 фильмов с правдивыми историями, в которых неверно истолковывается важный факт. WatchMojo, Букбанк, Реакция, Skittles. Погнали.
Excuse me, sir,
О, звуки музыки, наслушан об этом фильме. Я забыл включить перевод. Вот и все. Я шортс один посмотрел и готово.
I don't know your signal.
You may call me Captain.
Captain.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at movies based on true stories that got a major detail wrong, possibly among others. There will be a few spoilers for these films.
Один фильм, который есть в этом списке, я уже посмотрел, и он шикарен.
Are we so different, you and I?
О, Хоакин Феникс. До того, как стал известен по роли Жакея. Ха-ха-ха. Ты берешь от жизни все. Ты смотришь рекламу Пепси.
You take life when you have to, as I do.
I have only one more life to take.
Number 10. Elliot Ness meeting Al Capone. The Untouchables. Based on the memoir co-authored by Elliot Ness, this crime classic chronicles the former Prohibition agent's pursuit of the seemingly untouchable Al Capone.
What draws my admiration? What is that which gives me joy?
James.
Ебать у него хуй.
Baseball.
Ness did investigate Capone as his agents raided his bootlegging operations, but the film exaggerates their rivalry. At one agents raided his
Shadow Agents.
bootlegging operations, but the film exaggerates their rivalry. At one point, Ness confronts Capone in a hotel lobby, punching one of his men and egging on the big boss.
My friend was killed today.
I don't care.
Мне pохуй.
You don't care. Hey, now he does. Come out here, Capone. You want to fight? You want to fight you and me right here?
This never happened, nor did their courtroom exchange where Ness rubs justice in a guilty Capone's face. Despite Ness's efforts to bring down Capone, the closest the two came to meeting was in 1932. Ness and some other agents escorted Capone from the Cook County Jail to Dearborn Station. It's uncertain if Ness and Capone even spoke to each other.
Вот и поговорили. А, стоп, они вообще не говорили.
You heard me, Capone. It's over.
Get out of here. You're nothing but a lot of talking about.
Эш.
Here.
Пикачу. Пикачу?
End of the lesson.
Number 9. Freddie Mercury's Diagnosis and Live Aid.
Богемская рапсодия была на превью, и она, блядь, шикарна. Да, фильм неправдивый, но мне похуй. Я посмотрел его несколько лет назад на ТВ-3. Слава богу, я увидел этот анонс, когда мама смотрела слепую или гадалку. Блядь, какой же охуительный фильм.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Let's separate the real life from the fantasy. Queen put on a historic performance at Live Aid.
Я, кстати, вчера решил загуглить выступление под Shop Boys с песней Go West. И знаете, что я там увидел? Они выступали в Москве. И у нас, кажется, Live 8, ну точнее, Live 8, Live H, проходил в Москве, блядь. Да, была серия концертов по всему миру.
Frontman Freddie Mercury was diagnosed with AIDS, ultimately
Блин, светлая память.
leading to his premature death. It's the timing where Bohemian Rhapsody indulges in fantasy. The film sees Freddie break the news about his diagnosis to his bandmates shortly before Live Aid.
А еще Дикон не такой, как в реальной жизни. Посмотрите обзор резонанса.
He swears them to secrecy, wanting to focus on
I want to break free. От этой хуйни давайте делать музыку.
the music.
Right now, it's between us. All right, just us.
This couldn't have happened, as Mercury
Джордж Дикон вспомнил. Джордж Дикон. Нет. Как там звали того чела? Джон Дикон, во, блядь.
Mercury wasn't diagnosed until 1987, 2 years after the concert. It's hard
Ну, блядь, надо спихнуть все в один фильм. Давайте быстрее, блядь.
to pinpoint when exactly
Часики тикают.
Mercury became HIV positive, as he showed symptoms as far back as the early 80s. Even if Mercury suspected he was sick, the rest of Queen wasn't made aware of his illness until the decade's end. Number 8. Number 8. How many brothers? The Iron Claw. This wrestling biopic follows the Von Erich brothers.
Here comes the Iron Claw. His father's
О, свежачок 23-го года.
notorious signature move.
4 of the brothers meet premature ends, leaving only Kevin Von Erich to carry on his family's sometimes triumphant and oftentimes tragic legacy. While mostly faithful to the 5 brothers' lives, a 6th Von Erich son is nowhere to be found. Chris Von Erich was the family's youngest. Although not as heavily involved in the family business due to medical issues, Chris pursued a wrestling career.
I ought to slap you right now. Percy.
On the heels of professional setbacks, substance abuse, and deep depression, Chris ended his life, just as his brother Kerry would 2 years later. When asked about Chris's absence, director Sean Durkin said, quote, "There was a repetition to it, and it was one more tragedy that the film couldn't
Много трагедии.
really withstand." End quote.
Вот надо, мы хотим давать меньше трагедии богу комедии.
This is happening to us. Why does it just keep happening?
Number 7. Michael Orr's so-called adoption. The Blind Side. In this feel-good Oscar winner, the Toy family takes Michael Orr under their wing, putting him on a path to the NFL.
Tell me everything I need to know about you. Who takes care of you? A mother? Do you have a mother? A grandmother, maybe?
Чё ты несёшь, женщина? Папа? Может быть, дедушка?
Tell you what, Big Mike. We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
Так что говори быстрее, блядь, кто у тебя нахуй о тебе заботится, понял ты, блядь?
Since the film's release, the real Orr had made it no secret some significant liberties were taken. Perhaps the most notable example is a scene where the Toys ask Michael to legally become part of the family.
We'd like to become your legal guardians. What's that mean?
Это чё, блядь?
What it means is that we want to know if you would like to become part of this family.
According to Orr, the Toys didn't officially adopt him. Instead, he entered
Не собирались они за столом? Не говорили мне об этом? Я не спрашивал, что это значит.
a conservatorship, allowing the Toys to make business decisions on his behalf. Orr claims the movie deal made the family even richer while none of the money went to him. In 2023, Orr took out a lawsuit, prompting the judge to end the conservatorship that same year.
Just last year,
out a lawsuit, prompting the
Бля, кажется, на этой фотографии, что его задерживают. А это копчик.
judge to end the conservatorship that same year.
Just last year, at Orr's request, a probate court judge dissolved the nearly 20-year conservatorship of the Tui family, offering to remove all mentions of Orr's supposed adoption from their websites, and not to mention adoption in public speeches.
A turn of events that blindsided many. Number 6. Schindler's List. Steven
Наслышан, пиздец, как об этом фильме.
Spielberg's Best Picture winner is a passionate tribute to Oskar Schindler and every Jewish person who endured the horrors of the Holocaust.
Let me understand. They'd put up all the money, I'd do all the work. What, if you don't mind my asking, would you do?
I'd make sure it's known the company's in business. I'd see that it had a certain panache. That's what I'm good at. Not the work. The presentation.
Мне нравится Вот этот звук кожи.
While Spielberg strove for authenticity, the film's most glaring error is its title. Throughout the film, Schindler and Itzhak Stern work on a list of Jewish workers to be employed at his factories rather than be sent to concentration camps. Although Schindler's involvement would save over 1,000 lives, there was actually more than one list.
Someday, this is all going to end, you know. I was going to say we'll have a drink then.
Неважно чего, просто по стаканчику.
I think I better have it now.
Historian David M. Crow believes there could have been as many as 9. Crow also claims that a Jewish man named Marcel Goldberg was responsible for 4 of these lists. It's unclear who made the other 5, but Schindler apparently only suggested a handful of names.
I could have gone one more person, and I didn't.
Oh, Bo Best.
I didn't.
Number 5, The Rise and Fall of Commodus, Gladiator. Maximus Decimus Meridius might not have been a real gladiator, but Commodus was most certainly the emperor of Rome.
Rome greets her new emperor. Your loyal subjects bid you welcome, Highness. Thank you, Falco.
Мы приветствуем вас, Джокер.
Doesn't mean anything about the film's depiction of him is accurate. Commodus didn't murder his father Marcus Aurelius to claim the throne. In fact, the father and son were co-emperors until Marcus Aurelius fell victim to the plague. Commodus's reign as emperor did end with bloodshed, but not in the Colosseum. Plague. Commodus's reign as emperor did end with bloodshed, but not in the
Там вообще зрителей не было.
Colosseum facing off against his longtime rival.
Там было просто одна армия и вторая. Мне кажется так.
After surviving an attempt to poison his food, Commodus was strangled to death while taking a bath. His assailant was his wrestling partner Narcissus, who was part of a conspiracy to kill the emperor. The film's version is, admittedly, more entertaining, however.
Are you not entertained?
Number 4. David Ferrie's Confession, JFK. Many of the figures portrayed are real, but much of Oliver Stone's JFK blends facts with historical fiction.
Chief, David Ferrie.
Come on in, Dave. Thank you for coming.
You remember me, Mr. Garrison? I met you on Carondelet Street.
Это Джо Пеши! Он играл одного из бандитов в одном доме.
Right after your
И во втором доме тоже.
election, I congratulated you.
How could I forget? You make quite a first impression.
In the film,
Right after your election, I congratulated you.
How could I forget? You make quite a first impression.
the
Блядь, Джо Пеши хорош.
investigation of President Kennedy's assassination reaches a turning point when New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison confronts pilot David Ferrie in a hotel room. A hysterical Ferrie confesses that he was involved in a conspiracy along with Lee Harvey Oswald, Clay Shaw, the CIA, and others.
I knew Oswald. He was in my Civil Air Patrol unit. I taught him everything. He was a I knew Oswald. He was in my Civil Air Patrol unit. I taught him everything. He was a wannabe, you know? Nobody really liked him because they thought he was a snitch.
In reality, Ferrie claimed he never met Oswald, despite Garrison's suspicions and photographic evidence that the two were in the same Civil Air Patrol group. Ferrie also denied knowing about a conspiracy before he died in 1967. JFK's assassination remains a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.
Кто убил Кеннеди?
Or maybe it was just Oswald.
They get to you too. They'll destroy you.
И чё?
They're untouchable, man.
Number 3, Fitzgerald getting his just desserts. The Reverend. After being attacked by a grizzly bear and abandoned by his party, frontiersman Hugh Glass miraculously survived the harsh wilderness.
Bridger's telling the truth.
How's that?
Fitzgerald lied to him. He was just following orders. He wasn't there when Fitzgerald stabbed my boy to death.
The film's version of Glass is hell-bent on killing John S. Fitzgerald for murdering his son and trying to do the same to him. Although there's no record of Glass having a part indigenous child, he did pursue Fitzgerald after being left for dead. In the film's final indigenous child, he did pursue Fitzgerald after being left for dead. In the film's final act, Glass leaves revenge in the creator's hands, with Fitzgerald nonetheless meeting a violent end.
Ты не пройдешь!
The real Glass also resisted getting his own hands dirty, although this was supposedly because Fitzgerald had become a U.S. Army soldier. While it's uncertain what became of the real Fitzgerald, his karmic fate in The Reverend is a pure revenge fantasy. Number 2. Blue Face Paint, Braveheart. We could make a list of crucial facts that this quote-unquote historical epic got wrong, but let's hone in on the most iconic element: William Wallace and his fellow Scots wearing blue face paint at the Battle of Stirling Bridge.
For presenting yourselves on this battlefield, I give you thanks.
Whenever another movie or show replicates this image, you know that they're parodying Braveheart. They're by no means mimicking history, though, as Wallace and his troops didn't adorn their faces in blue on the battlefield.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
Yes, I've heard. Kills men by the hundred. And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse.
The filmmakers possibly lifted the idea from the Picts, another Scottish group that supposedly covered their bodies in blue dye. From the Picts, another Scottish group that supposedly covered their bodies in blue dye called woad. Even then, it's debatable whether the Picts painted themselves for battle. It made for a cool image, but this detail surely leaves historians blue in the face.
Would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified.
Мне кажется, после этой цитаты просто все, блядь, ему аплодировали.
Take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Before we continue, be
И все кричали имя его. Да, имя его.
Sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into set. Musical gets its inspiration, but not the music. The Sound of Music. This classic musical gets its inspiration.
Когда, кстати, вышел?
Behind the Music. The Sound of Music. This classic musical gets its inspiration, but not much else, from the true story of the Von Trapp family.
In the future, you'll kindly remember there are certain rooms in this house which are not to be disturbed.
Yes, Captain.
When the new nanny, Maria, arrives, Captain Von Trapp firmly establishes that he runs a tight ship with zero tolerance for silly things like music. Once Maria brings music back to their household, the stern captain's heart is reawakened.
В реальной жизни, мне кажется, это не сработало.
Maria Von Trapp's memoir paints a far more affectionate portrait of George Von Trapp.
You are back to stay.
Only until arrangements can be made for another governess.
No.
Not only was the captain always kind to his children and a constant presence in their lives, but he never banished music. Before Maria even arrived, the captain and his first wife had already educated their children about music. His fondness for music never wavered, but the film's depiction sings a different tune.
Fräulein, did I not tell you that bedtime is to be strictly observed in this house?
Well, the children were upset by the...
Did I not tell you that bedtime is to be strictly observed in this house?
Well, the children were upset by the storm, so I thought that if I... You did, sir.
And do you or do you not have difficulty remembering such simple instructions?
Only during thunderstorms, sir.
Can you think of any other historical inaccuracies? Let us know in the comments.
You got nothing. There's not a lot of talking of bad. You're here because you got nothing. You got nothing in court. You don't got the bookkeeper. You got nothing.
Буккипер. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал, жмите на колокольчик, чтобы пускать новые видео, пишите комментарии, ставьте телегу. С вами был Александр Зайченко. Всем спасибо за просмотр, всем пока.